bringing news from a different page. Truth served hot and bold and strong. Every week we sing along. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Stories that make you think and pray. A light awaits at the end of day. Guided by the stars and stripes, through the stormiest of nights. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. When the world feels like a fight, hold your ground, stand for what's right. In the truth we'll find our way. Ed and Ronnie light the way. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Together we find unity.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie, and the show starts right now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie. I am this evening's host, Ronnie. Pastor Ed's not feeling well, and he covered for me Saturday, so here you get to deal with me tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We've already got a few comments. Cisco, thank you very much, sir. It's either Mr. Bill or Miss Tanya. Either way, thank you guys so much for being here. Got a lot to go over tonight. A lot of different stuff going on. But I'd like to start out the night with something funny. Now, everybody who knows me has known me pretty much my entire adult existence with a beard. And thank God I work in a job where I can still maintain a beard.
What's your biggest turnoff?
My biggest turnoff is facial hair.
Lord, just thank you, Thank you for the follicular fortitude to escape danger. Amen.
What's your biggest turnoff?
Sorry about that. Couldn't agree more. I like the beard. I don't know. I like it shorter than I do the longer. And some of you know me from the past. I had the really long beard, no mustache. I had the Amish look going on, but I guess that went the way of the dinosaur. I've got the normal standard beard now. So yes, keeping prayers for Ed. Hope he's feeling better soon. Absolutely. Happens every once in a while. Happens a lot to him, unfortunately. But yes, keep him in your prayers. You better be back on Wednesday. If you're watching, you better be back. All right. So let me scroll down here. I want to start out a little light before we get into the serious stuff. Where's it at? I've got a bunch of stories here, and I want to find the right one to go with the videos that I have set up. Trump visits Graceland, signs replica guitar, and what he said about Elvis.
We love Elvis. Everybody loves Elvis, right?
Who doesn't love Elvis? President Donald Trump made a stop at Graceland during his March 23rd visit to Memphis to highlight the work of the Memphis Safe Task Force. Following the roundtable meeting where he, among other topics, discussed DHS funding, potential Iran peace deal, and the task force accomplishments, Trump expressed his excitement for the impromptu visit to Graceland. I love Elvis. I never met Elvis. I met them all. I met Sinatra. I knew all of them. I never met Elvis, he said. Sometimes I feel I should tell a little fib. Say I knew him very well. I love Elvis. Trump's going to Trump, so, too late he outed himself there. Police closed roads leading to Graceland and directed traffic around Trump, arriving in a motorcade about 50 vehicles, including about 20 police officers on motorcycles, several SUVs and vans, 2 limousines, 2 ambulances. After an hour, the motorcade departed Graceland. Trump could be seen in the back of one of those limos. During that hour, the president received the full tour of Graceland. Wonder if he got to go upstairs. The second floor. I've always heard that the second floor of Graceland was completely off limits to everybody but Elvis and his closest friends and family. Of course, that's where the infamous bathroom is. During that tour, the president received the full tour of Graceland, but not before being shown the Presidential Medal of Freedom Elvis Presley Enterprises President CEO Jack Sawden received 2018 on Elvis's behalf. The medal is typically kept securely in Graceland's archives, but it was on display for the president. Someone's going to grab it. Memphis is not that safe yet, Trump said. Trump's still Donald Trump. I think his music was incredible. I understood that his life was complicated, right? It was complicated, but he was terrific, Trump said. And he was born with the voice that he never lost. Had other difficulties, but he never lost the voice. Near the end of his tour, Trump signed a replica of a guitar Elvis used during the Aloha from Hawaii concert in 1973, which he called a great honor.
But that came out pretty good.
Is that the first guitar you signed?
Just about. Now, Biden couldn't do that. He'd have to send it out to be signed. But look at that. That came out nice. And what a beautiful guitar. Is this, so, did he play this guitar?
No, this is a replica one, but this is a replica of the one that he did play.
Yeah.
And the one that had the karate patch on it. Elvis had 2 8th degree black belts in karate. One was in Kempo, and that's what this
Was
patch
he
is
really
for.
good, or was it just...
Actually, he was really good. He
Okay.
started practicing.
Could I have taken him in a fight?
I don't know, you might.
I think he would have been respectful enough to let you in.
Yes, he probably would.
But he and Bruce Lee really brought
Really? Is
karate.
that right?
Yeah, he would have been. But he and Bruce Lee really brought karate to the West.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good.
Cool stuff. So I'm not that big a fan of Elvis, but you got to respect the king. Come on, baby. Got to respect the king. Sorry, that's my poor attempt at an Elvis impersonation. We got a comment here. Cisco, he's been to Graceland the year after Elvis Presley passed away. That's pretty cool. That's don't know too much about Elvis personally. I do know a very funny scene in the movie Zombieland. They go to Graceland, and I believe they killed a zombie with one of Elvis's guitars. That not zombies. That's where I'm at. But I've got other stuff. I just wanted to cover a few things first. Obviously, a very bad plane crash in New York City last night. Very strange set of circumstances that kind of led up to it. I've got a couple of videos here I'm going to show. So a fire truck had asked a very large aircraft fire truck had requested permission to cross one of the runways It did just as a plane, a Canadian plane was landing. The air traffic controller tried to stop it, told the fire truck to stop, told the plane to go around, do something else, and unfortunately, it was an accident.
At approximately 11:40 last night, Air Canada Flight 8646, operated by Jazz, collided with the Port Authority aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle on runway 4. The plane carried 72 passengers and 4 crew. The ARFF vehicle carried 2 officers. In accordance with our emergency plan, our mutual aid partners, FDNY and NYPD, immediately responded. Initial numbers indicate that 41 passengers and crew were transported to the hospital, as well as the ARF officers. Sadly, the 2 pilots are confirmed deceased, and notifications are being made by Air Canada's care team at this time.
Very sad story. I have the video of the crash. I'm going to play it. It's a pretty horrific crash. If you don't care to see it, please avert your eyes. But this video actually has some of the air traffic controllers talking, kind of what led up to it, and very strangely. So unfortunately, the two pilots of the plane died in the crash, but a flight attendant was in a jump seat near the front of the plane, and after the crash, they found her in the jump seat on the ground with injuries, but she survives it.
This is the moment an air traffic controller realizes something has gone terribly wrong, just seconds before a deadly crash at New York's LaGuardia Airport. As an Air Canada jet comes in to land late Sunday night, a fire truck is crossing the runway.
Stop, stop.
But it's too late. The aircraft arriving from Montreal slams into the vehicle on runway 4.
Jet 646, I see you collide with vehicle, just hold position.
The cockpit is destroyed on impact. 2 pilots are killed. More than 40 people are injured. 1 flight attendant is reportedly thrown from the plane and somehow survives. In the moments after, you can hear just how shaken everyone is.
That wasn't good to watch. We were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up.
Controllers say they were handling another emergency on the other side of the airport when the collision happened. The runway is immediately shut down. Emergency crews flood the scene. And now, federal investigators are trying to work out exactly how this happened. Because the question is...
I had the other video, and I don't know why it didn't say I thought I had it, but it was the air traffic controller, and the fire truck asked for permission to cross the runway. Air traffic controller gives him permission. Just as I guess he noticed the other plane, the plane actually coming in for landing. He tries to tell the fire truck to stop. He tried to tell the plane to move, and it was just an unfortunate accident. And even the air traffic controller, like you saw there, says, I messed up. It's an accident. Yeah, right here, the air traffic control should have never let the fire truck go, knowing there was a plane landing. Absolutely. I couldn't begin to imagine just how stressful an air traffic controller's job is to, and I didn't realize until this incident today that they also would have to control vehicles on the runways as well. I guess I just never thought of it. And, I guess it's a very important thing. And it just unfortunately happened. So prayers to the families and everything. This kind of stuff oddly happens when the shutdown happens. And, last time we had the shutdown, that affected TSA and government employees, we had the plane hit the military helicopter in Washington, D.C., the Black Hawk. And then something like this happens. And, I don't have a video of Donald Trump talking about it, but I do have a video of him talking about how he's sending ICE in to the airports. And in typical Trump fashion, Trump going to Trump.
Whose idea was it?
Mine. That was mine.
And can I ask you said
That was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? ICE was my idea. I called, first person I called was Tom Homan. I said, what do you think? He said, I think it's great. Then I saw today there was some masks on. I didn't think the masks were appropriate. I put out a statement and I asked them, would it be possible to take off the mask? Because they should wear a mask when they're dealing with the murderers and the thugs let into our country.
So I don't personally know what to think about that. I don't do a whole lot of flying. I have flown from Indy to Detroit, Detroit to Grand Rapids, and 2 weeks later, Grand Rapids to Detroit, and Detroit back to Indy. That's all I've ever flown in my entire life. You know, I understand, you know, the shutdown, TSA agents aren't getting paid, and you know, I love my job, but I honestly don't think that I would show up to work without getting paid. You know, I don't know too many people that do or that would, you know, but having ICE agents in airports, maybe it'll make it safer. I mean, I understand the whole TSA came about because of 9/11, and since then, you know, independent trials have actually proven that things can get snuck past TSA. Fortunately, that hasn't happened on major airlines. You know, no security is impregnable. I mean, it's all, you know, vulnerable. So I don't know. Maybe air traffic will be safer. You know, I don't know. But so moving on from that unfortunate crash, you know, they still say that air travel is safer than by car. You know, and these accidents are exceptions rather than the rule. So thank God for that. China warns of dire consequences after Trump's violent threats to Iran. So I really don't think any of Trump's threats to Iran have been violent. But, you know, here we go. Got to pile on top instead of being the solution. They want to be part of the problem. Trump on Saturday gave Tehran a 48-hour deadline to end its partial blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway through which about 1/5 of the world's oil flows. If Tehran fails to end the blockade by the deadline, which will come Monday night, Trump threatened to hit and obliterate various power plants, starting with the biggest one first.
Time is ticking after Donald Trump issued an ultimatum to Iran: open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours or America will attack their power plants. Iran has responded, saying if that happens, all American information technology and desalination infrastructure will be targeted. Europe is on high alert after Iran launched missiles 4,000 kilometres away, double the distance thought to be possible, proving they could reach London, Paris or Berlin.
Let's see here. In response to Trump's escalatory threats, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said that the conflict and its impact on Hormuz has threatened global energy security as well as China's oil supplies. Lin warned that Trump's use of force will only lead to a vicious cycle when asked by reporters about the threats during his daily press conference on Monday. If the war expands further and the situation deteriorates again, the entire region could be plunged into an uncontrollable situation, he warned. Beijing is a partner of Iran, which has been the victim of relentless U.S. and Israeli bombardments since Trump launched his war of aggression the end of February. Boy, don't you just love liberal media? Trump launched his war of aggression. It has, however, objected to Tehran's retaliatory strikes against Gulf states, housing U.S. military bases, which has triggered a widening regional war. Let's see, I got one more video on that.
Tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And there's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
So we'll see. That video was yesterday, talking about today, obviously. And Bill and Tanya are here. Without power, they can't launch unless they have generators. I mean, yeah, that's true. We've already kind of bombed them back to the Stone Age, and I guess hitting their generators would just bomb them even more. And I had this story, and my apologies that I didn't bring it up when we were talking about the TSA and everything, but Trump reacts to Elon Musk offering to pay TSA agent salaries. President Donald Trump on Monday welcomed billionaire Elon Musk's offer to personally cover the salaries of Transportation Security Administration workers who have gone without pay during the ongoing Department of Homeland Security funding lapse, calling the proposal a positive development as airport disruptions intensify nationwide. Asked by reporters about Musk's suggestion, Trump responded simply, "Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Let him do it." Musk made the offer on X on Saturday, saying that he would step in to pay TSA employees as the funding impasse drags on and a long security line spread across major U.S. airports during busy spring break travel season. During the flurry of attention, there is no indication that Musk's offer will be implemented in the near term. The DHS, TSA, and White House have not announced any mechanism for accepting private funds to pay federal workers, and such a move would almost certainly face legal scrutiny. Of course it would. Of course it would. As soon as he signed that first check, I guarantee you the left would jump all over it and file all kinds of lawsuits, which is absolutely sickening, if you ask me. Instead, pressure is likely to intensify in Congress as the situation continues and TSA employees approach another missed paycheck. Lawmakers are expected to keep negotiating over DHS funding, though neither side has signaled a break. Americans are struggling here, boys. Americans are struggling. Oh, let's take a little break from this. Let's take a little break from these major news stories, and let's cover something that you just got to stop and laugh.
Hey, y'all gonna want to hear this. Probably the wildest headline you'll hear all week. Maybe. We live in a weird timeline, you know? It's a Florida-worthy news story out of Maryland. So there's this professional cornhole player, Dayton Weber, quadruple amputee, no arms, no legs. And if you're wondering how he's a professional cornhole player, here's how he throws the bags.
Here for Dayton Weber, in for a six, and it is good, right down the middle.
As impressive as that is, he has allegedly performed another activity with no arms and no legs that's absolutely newsworthy and wild. Police say that Dayton Weber, the quadruple amputee, professional cornhole player, shot another man in a car during an argument and then drove away with the body, allegedly. I have questions, lots of them. And it wasn't just them two in the car. There was two other guys in the back seat. So after he allegedly shot this man in the front seat during the argument with no arms and no legs, he asked the backseat passengers if they would help him get the body out of the car, and they said, "No, we good." And they bounced. And then he drove off with the body in the car. How? So many questions. And before you ask how, or you try to go look it up, police have not said how he drove the car or how he shot this man, allegedly. I'm not even trying to be funny with this story. I'm legitimately curious. If anybody, somebody, can explain how he did this, I'd love to know.
So, a quadruple amputee, no arms and no legs, who is a world champion cornhole player. And if you join us on men's groups, it comes to our ministries, cornhole tournament, lots of fun. Apparently he's very good at cornhole. And also good at shooting. I guess follow up to that video, he was able to find proof of this gentleman shooting a gun.
Well, that was fast. If you ever need answers to something, ask the internet. You'll figure it out. Remember, I just did this video about Dayton Weber, the quadruple amputee, professional cornhole player, who was just arrested for allegedly shooting somebody in his car and then driving away with the body. And I said, how is that possible? And then somebody commented and said, go to his YouTube. You'll figure out how. Here you go. Kapow! 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 So he was armed and dangerous. Still doesn't really answer my question on how there was 3 other people in that car and nobody stopped him.
Armed and dangerous, apparently. Sorry, that was just too good not to share. Oh, back to the regular news. Trump brings back controversial statue at the White House in latest revamp. Donald Trump has reinstated a statue of Christopher Columbus at the White House. Previous version of the statue was torn down by protesters during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations that swept the country in 2020. Remember those? Whole lot of common sense going around the text on the statue details its history, including how it was first dedicated in 1984, turned down in 2020, and then resurrected in 2022. In 2020, the massive Black Lives Matter protests took over the country in the wake of the death of George Floyd. You know, the mostly peaceful protests, you know, with cities burning and, you know, police departments on fire and cops, mostly peaceful. Around the same time, they were contemplating narratives about Christopher Columbus that were circulating among the people. While some of the conservatives were concerned with his statue as a scientist, explorer and the father of America, liberals were more focused on the important things, the effects of his voyage to North America had on the native population. Columbus, the second native, was painted as an anti-environmentalist imperial figure with a genocidal streak. There was a large focus on how voyages to America exposed the native population to old world diseases. And I get it. More technological, however you say it, advanced people came and took it from the less advanced people. But I mean, unfortunately, that's how the world is. You know, I don't see Christopher Columbus as some genocidal bully that, you know, was on his way to find India and said, "Oh my God, a whole nother continent. Let's kill everybody." You know, it wasn't that way. But you know, some of the things that happened to the indigenous people, Indians, was unfortunate, and very sad. But you know, again, the liberals see things as got to be, no matter what, the opposite of our history, of our culture, of common sense. You know, aggravating stuff. And maybe some of them are on drugs. And speaking of that, let's do our 911 call of the week. We haven't done it in a while, and since I'm going flying solo tonight, I packed you with 2 911 calls.
Welfare check of a person, 1530 North Meridian Street. Walgreens restroom, a male customer is inside the restroom, says there are snakes that followed him all over the soap dish, his clothing, and the floor. He's possibly hallucinating. He did not know the address.
So if you're at a Walgreens on Meridian Street in Indianapolis, keep an eye out for snakes. Apparently, the bathrooms are full of snakes. Here's 911 call number 2.
Units arriving on scene at the domestic with a weapon on Columbia Avenue. My caller has pulled out a second phone and called the suspect, and the suspect is demanding his drugs back.
Reaching out, we're done.
Units.
The caller pulled out a second phone and called the drug dealer and demanded his drugs back. Wow. I'd say it's only in Indianapolis, but after the 911 call I saw today, which I would love to share here, but cannot. I'd say it's only in Indianapolis, but it's apparently here in good old Columbus, Indiana as well. Get at me later, and if you really want to see the 911 call, and I will share it with you. It's quite a hoot. So I don't know if Ed covered this on Saturday because I wasn't here. I was in the woods until the temperatures dropped and sheriff's department said get out. But Chuck Norris passed away. You know, cue the Chuck Norris jokes, obviously. I've already seen some like death didn't come for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris came for death or something. But loss of a national hero.
Chuck Norris died. I didn't know that. He was a great guy. He was a really good, tough cookie. You didn't want to fight him, I can tell you. He was a tough, great guy and he was a great supporter. Wow, that's too bad. Tell his family highest respect. Right? Great man.
Yes. So 2026, if you wouldn't mind and to knock off killing the celebrities here this year, it's been a rather rough year for celebrities. We've lost a few greats. Strange stuff. Back to the news. A suspected meteorite breaks through a Houston home's roof. Now, last week, I believe we covered a big meteorite that went through the Cleveland area. It was seen in like seven states. Another one in the news, a meteor weighing about a ton was streaking through the sky over Houston, and pieces of it may have penetrated a local resident's roof and ceiling, according to the reports. Sherry James, a Houston resident, told local news outlet KHOU11, "We're on your side." I don't know if that's her call sign or not, but that it's a possible meteorite. Remnants from the meteor was spotted, punched a hole through her ceiling, and landed in one of the upstairs bedrooms of her home. We heard a big boom. Grandson went to check and said there was a hole in the ceiling. Then I saw a rock and thought it looks like a meteorite. It looks like a meteor. I guess maybe she's smarter than I am that can tell a meteor from a rock. I don't know. The rock landed through James' home after NASA confirmed witnesses saw a bright fireball northwest of Houston, Stagecoach, Texas, on Saturday, March 21st. Space agency stated in a post on X. James called the fire department after the incident. According to KHOU, we're on your side 11. The department believed the rock could have fallen from a plane, but later told James of reports that the reported meteor had fallen over Houston. Crazy stuff. Shooting stars. The only reason I bring this up is because I saw one Saturday when I was in the woods. It was very nice, laying in the back of the truck looking at the stars, and there was kind of a bright light in the parking lot, but I still saw a few shooting stars, and just kind of weird. 2 times in as many weeks, a story of a large meteor. Actually 3 times, because there was one over Indiana the week before. This kind of stuff happens all the time. I guess it just you don't really pay attention to it. Let's see here. How about some Pete Hegseth?
And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. We've damaged or sunk over 120 of their Navy ships, with battle damage assessments pending for many more. You see, oftentimes we have to wait a few days on battle damage assessment to get the real number. Their surface fleet is no longer a factor. Their submarines, they once had 11, are gone. Their military ports are crippled.
I guess what's surprising to me is that Iran had even one submarine, much less 11. But we discussed earlier, that they kind of bombed them back to the Stone Age, and then if the Strait of Hormuz doesn't open and we take out their power plants, they will quite literally be in the Stone Age. The thing that bothers me about that is innocent civilians in Iran, the protesters that were trying to do the regime change. I don't want it hurting them. Because if you stop and think about it, taking out electrical power plants, just how devastating that is, especially nowadays. And we've covered this before and harped on this so many times, and I'm going to do it again. I actually was trying to have a special guest on, a really close friend of mine, Micah Daddy Flynn. He's been on here in the message board, in the comments and stuff before, to talk about this kind of thing, of the terrorism and the sleeper cells and stuff like that. I was talking with my coworker today as we were driving around the county, because he's kind of trying to get on board with survival, but he's not quite scared to that point yet. And we were talking, there was a book I read a few years ago called Deus Irae. It stands for Day of Wrath, written by William R. Forston. He does a lot of survival stories. He wrote 1 Second After, a very good survival story about an EMP. And in 1 Second After, an EMP is electromagnetic pulse launched from nuclear missiles fired from a container ship in the Gulf of America. They fired 3, one on the West Coast, one in the center of the country, and then one on the East Coast. Detonate a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere. The electromagnetic pulse follows through and wipes out all electronics. It's been studied really hard. A lot of things are hardened, depending on the level of hardness, the strength of the EMP, stuff like that could wipe out, electronics. But in the book Deus Irae, Day of Wrath, it's about 2 swords. And sword 1 is the first action. Sword 2 is the second action of sleeper cells from Iran here in the United States. Sword 1 is a group of 3 guys. They pick a school near an interstate highway, and they go in and mass casualty event. Sword 2 is another group of 3 guys, and they go to the interstate highway near the school 20, 30, 40 minutes later, and mass casualty event. And what that does is it clogs up the interstate for first responders trying to get to the school, parents trying to get to the school, and it just creates larger and larger targets. And for a while, that really scared the crap out of me. But if you sit down and think about it, there are more ways to skin a pig. And unfortunately, I don't know if Iran has ever had the bomb, if that was true, if they've ever had a nuke, if that was true or not. There are other countries close with Iran that do, Russia, China. But if they got a hold of a nuclear bomb and were able to do something like in 1 Second After with the electromagnetic pulse, and to wipe out electricity, people are going to really stop and think how just reliant on electricity we are these days. And it's not just electricity for lights and for air conditioning or for heat. It's everything you do, everything you touch, everything has something to do with electricity. Nowadays kids don't understand cable TV. When I was a kid, you had antenna, which picked up free TV, and cable TV, which ran to a cable box, and you had channels. Now it's all on the internet. Everything is online. And, I was talking with Cody today, and I'm kind of leaning away from the school shooter scenario or something like that, because a clean 1 in, 1 out strike would be a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere, electromagnetic pulse, boom, you can't drive, you can't pump gas. If your money's in the bank, you lose it all. No stores, no trucking, no shipping. I recently started watching The Pit on HBO Max. If you haven't seen it, a very phenomenal show. But in season 2, they kind of touch on hackers trying to get in their system, and so they're doing everything. It's about an emergency room in Pittsburgh. Emergency room in Pittsburgh, and the trials. The first season's with a mass casualty event, a mass casualty shooter. The second season is about hackers, and they basically shut off the internet, and just how difficult it was to maneuver, even treating patients without the internet. And what if they had to do that without electricity, without air conditioning, without heat? Again, we sat here and we can joke about bombing Iran back into the Stone Age, but what if that happened in America? Who here can survive without some form of electricity? Medical, transportation, heating, cooling, everything you can think of, food, water pumps, who lives near a water source? Who knows how to fish? Who knows how to hunt? Who knows how to, if something were like that were to happen, you've got to think, and I believe in estimates that I've seen, like 2 in every 10 people would make it. That means out of every 10 people, everyone dies but 2. That's a crazy statistic, and it's crazy scary. And Donald Trump's talked about Americans, being worried about sleeper cells. We had a video on here where he says, we think they know where they all are. I kind of had issues why they haven't gone and found them all, why ICE hasn't gone and hunted them down. And what's really strange as well is, of course, now it's not going to pull it up, but I found a lot of articles here lately from Homeland Security, from different organizations talking about survival gear and what Americans need to stockpile, what you need to have. Um, Survival's kind of my thing. I can sit here and talk survival for hours, and if I don't stop, I will. Um, but survival's kind of my thing. It kind of spawned from about around the COVID era where we were all sitting around a campfire and going, man, things can't get much worse. And then the next week we all met around the campfire going, wow, things could possibly not get worse. And then the next week and the next week and the next week and the next week and the next week. And finally, it's being a doomsday prepper isn't as taboo as it once was because of the show Doomsday Preppers. People used to watch that show Doomsday Preppers, and those people on there, frankly, to me, were weirdos. I mean, but it's really hard, especially with Joe Biden's America, when inflation was so stinking high, to be able to put food back. My family's broken into our survival supplies numerous times just to put dinner on the table. So it's not so much a doomsday kind of thing, but if you're at the store and you're going to buy a can of soup, buy two, put one away, put one in the cabinet. Canned goods don't go bad. I mean, it takes a very long time for canned goods to go bad. Basically try and put a little bit away, a little bit here, a little bit there. Get to the point where you and your family can sustain for 3 days. 3 days. Just look at that. Think about it. What you would need for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Water, 1 gallon per person per day. Get to you where you and your family can be comfortable at 3 days. Then you can move on into bigger and better medical supplies, of course, beans, bullets, Band-Aids. But we can sit here and we can talk. Man, things can't get much worse. We're in a war in Iran. Ukraine and Russia are still going at it. China is blowing threats. We've talked about sleeper cells every single episode, for the last 3 weeks since we've gone to war in Iran. But what are we going to say next week? We can sit here again and say, man, things can't get much worse. Where are we going to be? So I guess I'm giving everybody a little bit of homework this week, because survival's my thing, and Pastor Ed can preach, and that's his thing. And you need both. You need the Bible, and you need food and water. And one of my favorite Bible verses, and it's on the shirt for our survival group, is in the house of the wise are stores of choice oil and food, but a foolish man devours all he has. So it even talked about prepping in the Bible. So I love that. Let's see here. Several underground caves that are so big, semis are delivering loads of food to them. I think one of them is in Missouri and Arkansas. Yes. Talking about the large caves, the largest stockpile of MREs, military rations, ready to eat, food, meals ready to eat. One of the biggest corporations is in southern Indiana, and they have a huge stockpile of MREs in one of the caves, the cave systems down towards Kentucky, I believe. Somewhere near Mammoth Caves, I believe. But start it one day at a time. Next time you go to the store, next time you make an online order, something like that, just, can I put back 1 extra can of soup, or, buy an extra box of oatmeal? Oatmeal, Alice unfortunately hates it. She won't eat it. She calls it porridge for some reason. But, when it comes down to it, when there's no breakfast, she's going to be eating porridge. So, all right. I will step down off of my soapbox now, and let's get back to the news. Maryland Park closed after string of explosive devices found. I didn't plan it that way, but explosive devices in Maryland, that could be, I'm not going to assume and say that could be sleeper cells, but think about it. It could happen. A Maryland Park, what if they had some sort of event in that park? You could have a very big mass casualty event. Authorities found several explosive devices across a Maryland park over the weekend, prompting the park's closure. A statement on Monday, Prince George County Fire Department said it was a bomb squad responded to Fort Washington Park after several explosive devices were located, prompting U.S. Park Police to close approximately 341-acre site. Officials said five devices, were initially discovered and rendered safe before operations were suspended after sunset, adding the morning additional explosive devices were located. Bomb squad is on scene working to render the devices safe. A joint investigation by members of the PGFD Fire Marshal's Office, along with Office of Maryland State Fire Marshal, the ATF, FBI, and U.S. Park Police is underway and ongoing, PGFD added. Photos posted online showed bomb squad officials suiting up in the scene, as well as what appeared to be several pipe bombs laying on the ground among the leaves and rocks. There's no current threat to the public. If members of the public should come across a device similar to those pictures, do not touch the device. Leave the area and call 911. Park remains closed as of Monday, according to the National Park Service. And to me, that's actually kind of scary how there's not much more information on it. I mean, that many bombs, explosives, and it's just, oh, yeah, they're there. Bomb squad went in, took them out. No big deal. Back to your regular scheduled programming. Crazy. Let's see here. My last spoken story, but I wanted to pull up a video. Here we go. Video to go along with it. So you don't have to look at this ugly mug the whole time while I'm reading this itty bitty story here. Let's see. Here's going to pop up. There we go. I like that little, was the moon landing legit? We're not going to get into that today. We're just going to, this is showing the Artemis Day 6, closest approach. And let's see here. Little Artemis quiz. What Apollo trajectory was used in the case the main engine failed? Direct abort, free return trajectory, Hohmann transfer, or powered slingshots? Yeah, I was going to say the trajectory. You watched the movie Apollo 13. On to this. NASA's Artemis 2 moon rocket arrives back at the launch pad. So they had it out. That's a live view of it. They were going to launch sometime in February. Canceled, March, canceled. And now they're pushing. They apparently canceled, scrubbed all of it, is what I was told. And then they brought it back. Had a fuel leak. We read that a few weeks ago. The Artemis 2 rocket that will send astronauts around the moon and back is on the pad and can launch in less than 2 weeks. NASA rolled Artemis 2 Towering Space Launch System, SLS rocket, to launch Complex 39B, LC-39B at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Friday. The SLS and its Orion crew capsule arrived at the pad at 11:21 a.m. First motion occurred earlier the same morning at 12:20 a.m. With SLS Orion and their mobile launch platform secured atop NASA's Crawler Transporter 2 vehicle for the 4-mile trek. The Artemis 2 stack spent less than 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks, inside KSC's vehicle assembly building, undergoing maintenance to address the issues that cropped up at the rocket's initial tests on the pad. There was the fuel leak. NASA aims to prepare the vehicle and ground systems in time for the start of the next Artemis 2 launch window, which opens April 1st. I am looking forward to that. I believe it's on Thursday. I'm planning on covering that. Going back to the moon. Now, this mission is not going to land on the moon. They're launching towards the moon, slingshotting around and coming back. If you remember your history, it wasn't until Apollo 11 before we actually landed on the moon. So Apollo 1 through 10 was just the trials. So I'm really looking forward to it. Artemis 2 launch, 8 days, 21 hours, 34 minutes, 22 seconds. And I will bring it to you live. That's as long as they actually do it. We will see. Let's see here. What else do I got? I wanted to pull up Artemis. Donald Trump was talking about the Save America Act, and he's wanting Republicans to do it for Jesus. Kind of weird.
So I'm tying Homeland Security into voter identification with picture and proof of citizenship citizenship in order to vote, and those two items are the most important thing having to do with Homeland Security. So it should be part of the Homeland Security bill. And I'm requesting that the Republican senators do that immediately. You don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus, okay? Make this one for Jesus. That's what I tell them. It would be a damn good thing.
Make it for Jesus. I love that. So in Memphis, we talked about Trump going to Graceland. President Donald Trump invoked Jesus on Monday to urge Republicans in Congress to work through the upcoming Easter holiday and a bid to pass voter identification bill the Democrats strongly oppose. Well, anything that the Republicans are, thumbs up for, the Democrats strongly oppose. Trump said the voting bill should be included in any agreement to fund the Homeland Security Department, which has been partially shut down since February 13th after Democrats demanded reforms on immigration enforcement. Requesting that Republican senators do that immediately. You don't have to make a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus. I don't really know how to feel about that one, if it's sacrilegious or if it's just Trump being Trump, but I don't know. Let's see here. How about another Pete Hegseth?
The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC or Besiege. Temp jobs. All of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half.
I love that. Temp jobs in Iran. Temp jobs. Can you imagine that temp job? That's some pretty funny stuff. Oh, let's see. I got a Japan and Trump video. I don't know how to feel about this either. It's borderline racist or funny.
Why didn't you tell U.S. allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
Hey, I don't know what to think about that. He's right, though. Why didn't you tell us about Pearl Harbor? Wow. Whatever. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. So I love these videos, and I try and catch one every once in a while. People going through and asking just basic questions of regular Americans and just kind of testing their knowledge of the most basic things. People's answers, man.
Do you know how many stars there are on the U.S. flag?
52.
Yes. What state is Utah in?
Michigan.
Yes. Do you know what state Utah is in?
Utah, to be honest with you, I never heard of that place ever in my life. I live under a rock.
Do you know how many dimes there are in the dollar? Make up $1.
A dime is the 10 cent or the 5 cent?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Can you name 3 countries besides the USA?
Damn.
Any 3. You know this.
Canada? New Mexico, right? That's good?
Yeah.
Damn, I need one more. Damn.
Yeah, so you got Canada, New Mexico, and what?
Ew. I need to go back to school.
Do you know how many states there are in total in the U.S.?
100.
How many continents are there?
3.
Continents?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what 2 countries border the U.S.?
Bordered?
Yeah, like on the borders.
The only borders I know is Puerto Rico and Mexico.
Yes.
100 states in the United States. 100 states. Can you believe that? Oh, my Lord. All right. Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to wrap this up here 5 minutes early. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. Hopefully, keeping Pastor Ed in your prayers that he will be back on Wednesday. I will be back on Wednesday as well. I am on call this week, and fortunately, I was able to make it through an entire episode with no call outs. So, fingers crossed that Wednesday and Saturday are the same as well. As long as 911 dispatchers are doing their job, God bless them. Let's see here. The closing video, we've done it. We did it last week. It was a very beautiful singing of Amazing Grace. We kept it on here because it's very touching. I really enjoy it. But thank every one of you for being here with me. Thank you so much for sitting here and looking at my ugly mug and listening to me talk about survival. If you have any questions as far as survival goes or anything like that, please feel free to reach out. I'll sit here and talk to you all night long about it. But yes, good night, Bill and Tanya. Thank you so much. Keep praying for Pastor Ed. We will see you all back here 8 p.m. Wednesday, Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie. Until then, please go out and do the right thing. Good night.
Amen.